What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing the tier list for Breath of Distraction on missed opportunities. Brian, let's hear the mutation.
Missed Opportunities is the map where we have to clear out terrazine geysers for Stetmann's bots to harvest. Then we have to protect said bots from enemies. If we lose more than one bot on brutal difficulty, we lose the game. Extra enemy waves drop every few minutes. They move very fast and get stronger when their friends die.
Twotuuu and Zero are in the call with us today. How are you guys?
All right.
Fine.
Fantastic. So, Twotuuu, how will we rank the commanders this week?
So with aggressive deployment, basically, if they're just gonna land where you are, so you just does your commander have enough firepower to take on extra Avenger units? And if you're able to assist your ally with his wave, whenever it drops, then you get extra points, I suppose, and also speed freaks. So how's the mobility of the commander?
That's okay. How about you, Zero?
Yeah, I agree with that. Commanders with high mobility will be ranked higher just because you have to move from bot to bot and possibly hurt your ally if they need to, while also fighting slightly stronger enemies with Avenger.
Let's begin. Abathur, where do we have him?
So Abathur, this is not a Rifts mutation, so you don't have to rush a Brutalisk. You can actually just put Toxic Nests along the path, so you don't the 3-minute wave comes sooner, but he has no problem against that. And then later on, he will have Deep Tunnel to help his ally or be wherever he needs to. And Vipers are good at making the enemies not do anything.
yes.
Swarm hosts, if you're using P2, swarm hosts can also maintain ground presence so that the enemies don't attack the bots. I put him in S.
Okay, that's pretty high. How about you, Zero?
I have him in A tier, but I'm not opposed to S. Like Tutu said, he has really strong early game, whether or not you just rush a Brutalisk. His whole army, if you're P2, can deep tunnel, which is amazing for getting from bot to bot. He doesn't have any trouble in fighting the enemies, so yeah, I'm fine with him being S.
Okay then, both of you are okay with S. Let's put him in S. Prestige-wise, you want the second one or no
Yeah.
prestige? Both should be fine.
Either
I'll take
one.
P2.
Yeah.
Yeah, both work.
All right, let's move on. Alarak, where do we have him?
So Alarak, aggressive deployment makes Ascendant slightly awkward, but I think you should still go for them. He can still split the Ascendants, and even with Speed Freak and Avenger, the enemies won't get too close. So yeah, he doesn't have much trouble fighting the enemies. For splitting, Mothership has I think it's a minute cooldown on teleport,
Yes.
and the time it takes to teleport is quite long also. So by the time you teleport, your ally could already take some damage. It's not instant. But yeah, he's still solid. He has good map presence, a very strong early game, so I have him in A tier.
A tier. How about you, Tutu?
Yeah, I don't. Well, regardless of which army composition you choose, his mobility is really good. You can also just dump pylons to help everywhere. So you can warp in some slayers maybe to help out, or overcharge wherever your ally is if he can't handle his wave, or if you need help on your wave. So yeah, I put him in A as well.
Okay, unanimous A. Let's put him in A. A for Alarak. There we go. Prestige-wise, you want the third one, right?
Yes.
Let's move on. Arcturus, where do we have him?
He has bunkers everywhere, so that's really strong. If you use ESOs to clear, that's okay, but aggressive deployment might drop there. So if your army's not near your ESOs, they might get destroyed pretty quickly. So he's really strong, but he doesn't really have a way to help his ally very well immediately. It takes some time to get there. So yeah, he's still pretty solid overall, so I put him in A.
A tier. Okay, how about you, Zero?
I also have him in A tier. If it's air, you just spread bunkers everywhere, and air units are terrible at fighting bunkers. If it's ground, you just go ESO and put laborers into them, so they're not counted towards aggressive deployment, and then you're fine. Yeah, you could, for the mid to later game, you can just spam E-base and ghost academies everywhere to tank if you're going for the ESO route. Yeah, I think A is fair for him.
Okay, both of you are okay with A. Let's put him in A. Going well so far. Artanis, where do we have him?
He doesn't have a good time against Avenger. He's actually solid at splitting, surprisingly. Yeah, he can have like groups of dragoons everywhere, and because dragoons you don't really want to have a huge army of dragoons just because they'll body block each other. It actually works out pretty well for him. I'd still recommend P3 here, just for Archons. You can help your ally that way also. I have him in B tier personally.
B. How about you, Twotuuu?
Artanis is not good against Avenger, so yeah. I don't think dropping Archons every time there's an aggressive deployment wave is sustainable, because
No, it's
you would
not.
also need them for like the regular waves. And if you're so Artanis is pretty comp dependent. So there are some comps that just give him a lot of trouble, and there are others where he can just completely destroy. So yeah, P2 can make an appearance here because the teleport is helpful.
And it
Although
did.
if you keep teleporting like back and forth, you're gonna run out of energy very
Yes,
fast.
absolutely. You can
So
run out of
yeah,
energy.
it is good, but because he's still kind of comp dependent, I put him in B. He's fine.
Okay, both of you agree with B. Let's put him in B. Is mobility not an issue? I guess it's not if you have the second prestige, which I experienced firsthand. Mobility is,
It shouldn't be.
yeah.
You have two groups of dragoons, ideally. So you just place one on like each side of the bot. You should be fine.
My issue with that is reinforcing your ally. For example, if he's starting to get overwhelmed, I guess Artanis doesn't really do a lot of reinforcing since usually he's the one that he's reinforcing. Anyway, let's move on. Oh wait, we want the third prestige, right? Not. Oh wait, the second one's also fine because yeah, you
I'd
can
say
Yeah.
mitigate the
yeah.
mobility issue. Okay, let's move on. Dehaka, where do we have him?
He has pack leaders, so yeah. If your army is big enough later on, you can just summon a pack leader to help your ally. And if you want the Hakas plus pack leaders at the same time, then you can use something like P0, P1, or P3, not P2, so that you can be in like two places. You have power in two places at once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I guess Mass Mutas, or I think Mass Mutas might be better than Creeper Hosts, because if they land on your Creeper Hosts and you don't have like the cooldown, that you don't have Locust ready, then they're all gonna die. So that's not good. I still think he's really strong, so I put him in S.
Okay. How about you, Zero?
I have him in S tier also. He has no issue with the enemies being stronger. He has solid amount of mobility. He can deploy pack leaders if he needs to, either help his ally or just push into the base. Yeah, I think S.
Do Dehaka structures attract aggressive deployment?
No, I believe not.
Yeah. Also, is there some sort of issue with Tyrannosaurs? I was wondering why they weren't mentioned.
Tyrannosaurus. I mean, if it's like ground, not ground, air Zerg, then you might as well. But like against like stronger compositions, if they get Avenger, they could like burst down your Tyrannosaurus, which is not exactly what you want. But if the
That's
comp
interesting.
allows it, go for it.
All right. Let's move on. Dehaka S tier, by the way. Prestige wise, second or third?
See, any
Anyone
works.
really.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. Phoenix, where do we have him?
Phoenix, so his shell army is quite vulnerable. But other than that, he's actually quite solid. If you can keep the shell army alive, alternatively, you can go for like P1 or P0. That also works. Even though you'll be slightly weaker because your champs won't be as strong, so you'll be taking actual losses that cost you money. Yeah, so I have him in the B tier.
We don't really care about the champions. We only care about how much they cost. That's what I'm hearing. How about you,
Yes.
Tutu?
Oh, I don't think P2 is good here because they might drop on your shell farm. So instead, I think like every time there's aggressive deployment, P1 is really good because you can summon the one of the suits every 2 minutes, and the aggressive deployment waves come every 2 minutes. So basically, no matter like if your ally's not that good, you always have a suit to help him defend. And then you are just like your army is just F2 and like they're all clumped together and they're just really strong. Caldalis is there, everyone's there, and your shells can also fight. So yeah, and if your ally doesn't need the help, then you can use your suit and do a lot of work
Suit
too.
yourself.
So I put him in S. I put him in S because
S. What do you think, Zero?
No, I don't think he's S. Because, at least compared to the other guys who have in S tier, his army's a lot weaker and he has lower mobility.
Well, if you use the first prestige, wouldn't the Arbiter suit fix basically all your mobility issues?
I
you
guess
do have
so.
vision of the bots, right? Like without any units there, you still the bots will give you vision, right? So you can summon.
So I guess the only question is
non-P2 army. It's been a while since I used it.
Yeah, the only question is the power level of the army itself. I do agree though that it's not as strong as Dehaka and Abathur's armies, but is it still good enough to be S? I guess is the question. Can it stand up against Avenger armies? Or at least, can it stand up better than Alarak or Arcturus' armies? I guess that is the question. What do you think?
I wouldn't rank him over Arcturus. Arcturus just has the map presence with bunkers. He's a lot easier to use, I think, in this case.
So you're not convinced, but are you willing to put him in A?
Yeah, I'm fine with A.
Okay, it's not unanimous, therefore it's not S. So Fenix will be in A tier, which is still good. A is not bad. A is good. A is very good. Prestige-wise, I guess you want the first prestige so that your shell farm is not weak, right?
Yeah.
P1.
That makes sense. Let us move on. Han and Horner, where do we have them?
They the good thing is that when they're speed freaks, their observers seem to be slower than the regular units. So if you have Widow Mines, they get blown up before the observer gets there. So like that happens with Raynor mines and Nova mines as well. They'll get themselves killed before like the observer gets there, unless they are on top of your stuff. If they're like somewhere else and they run to your army, then it'll take time. If they're on top of there, then they will.
You mean the observer's detection is faster than the observer itself?
No. The observer will get there after the units already die, because the units are faster than the observer.
Right. So the Widow Mine will get to fire, is what you're saying.
Yes. But then if they land on top of your army, then it's like you just hope you kill them first.
Kind of.
If they're like right on top of you.
That's kind of Han and Horner's whole deal anyway. Destroy them before they destroy you. Letter.
That's like Han and Horner wants to fight them before they get close. So when they land on top of you, it really sucks because you'll suffer losses that you don't want. But yeah, I don't think they're not that good though. So I put them in B.
B. How about you, Zero?
They're all. Yeah,
I haven't been C tier personally. You can't really use Reapers here because of Avenger, so you're kind of forced into other units, whether that's P2 or just like the Hellion Widow Mine, which aren't ideal either. Yeah, they can't really split their army just because their army's so weak. If you're not together, you'll suffer. You kind of help your ally with Widow Mines, I guess, but still not ideal. Yeah, I think C tier's fair for them.
What do you think about C tier, Twotuuu?
I'm not really opposed to it.
All right then.
So yeah, I think you can't really split army because they're just not good.
That's
when they're not bunched together.
Poor Han and Horner. Anyway, both of you guys are okay with C tier. He or they end up in C tier. Prestige wise, do you want the first one or the second one?
I think both are fine.
Both are fine. Okay, just use first or second one. Karax, where do we have him?
Karax, I have him in A tier. He's kind of like Arcturus, and he just spams cannons everywhere. He has global presence with his top bar, so if your ally is struggling, just drop a few orbitals or a solar lance there, and he will no longer be struggling, hopefully. Yeah, for the wave defense, or rather bot defense, the cannons should handle that with the support of top bar, even if it's like immortals with the orbital stun or just with enough orbitals, you should be able to handle them relatively easily. You can also add like mirages to lift the Avenger Immortals, and that should help. Yeah, I have him in A tier. He doesn't really struggle anywhere, but he isn't as good as the S tiers.
Okay. How about you, Twotuuu?
If it weren't for Avenger Immortals, I would put him in S. But because Avenger Immortals just wreck armored stuff so badly, his whole if there are too many Avenger Immortals, you're gonna lose a lot of stuff. The good thing about Karax is you can make a Mirage before 7 minutes, and you put the Mirage in a corner, and then your aggressive deployment waves will no longer spawn. You just make
that's not a
cannons for
bug.
the rest of the game.
I guess that works if you're soloing, although you will still have
Well-
to deal with your allies' Avenger stuff.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah, no, I know.
no.
I'm
When
not
you're soloing,
saying.
you just fight one of the waves, so you don't have to fight your aggressive deployment waves.
Oh, right,
Your
right,
allies
right.
will.
Yeah, your allies' stuff will still spawn if you just leave his
But-
base in there. That makes sense.
Yeah, but at that point, you're still fighting like as a group, as a team. You're still fighting just half the enemies, and you're
Yeah.
not losing that much power. So it's really good.
Yeah, we're
So,
in
yeah.
agreement. We're in agreement. I'm just saying that it is still something to fight, and I'm saying that it is yes half the stuff to fight. So we're in agreement. Did you say A?
Hey,
Because
A.
he hates immortals.
yes,
All right, that's
Avenger
fine.
Immortals.
Avenger Immortals. Okay, both of you are okay with A. Let's put him in A. Prestige wise, you want the third one?
Yes.
One is okay.
One is okay. Okay, let's move on. Kerrigan, where do we have him?
Kerrigan is kind of comp dependent because if she's fighting Avenger Air, like Hydras suck, so that's no good. Against ground, Ultras are really good. Against air, Hydras are not good. You will need Mutas, but until you get enough Mutas, like if they're Avenger Corsairs, then your Mutas are gonna die too. So it's not very pretty. And Kerrigan herself is gonna be under a lot of pressure. So if you need healing, then you're not fighting, and you have to like micro a lot. So you have to keep going back and forth, healing, microing. And the good thing is you can stall with Omegas. So
Yeah,
before they get Avenger, you can stall them and then go back and fight them. I put Kerrigan in B.
B tier. How about you, Zero?
I have her in S tier. She has insane mobility with Omega Worms. If it's ground, you just spam Ultras and they destroy everything. If it's air, you just go Mutas, which once you get enough of them, which doesn't last very long, will win all the fights they're in. For the early game, before you got that Muta count, there's like no threatening air that comes at you. Because it's like Wraith, Mutalisk, and Scout. It really won't kill Kerrigan. So you have plenty of time to build up that Muta count. And then later game, just have insane mobility and tanking for the bots with Omega Worms. As well as support for your ally if he needs it.
What do you think, Tutu?
I don't think she can last that long. Like when I played this, I kept dying at 9 minutes because 9 minutes is really like
Insane.
3 waves hit, and there's aggressive deployment that hits your base. Well, with an ally, I guess he takes it, but then even against ground, like at 9 minutes, you have no army, so you're fighting like everything
With just
by
Kerrigan.
yourself with just Kerrigan. And if she takes too much damage, and they get Avenger, so you don't have immobilization wave yet, so you might just die. So
what? So you're not convinced, but are you willing to
I
move
don't
up
think
to?
I don't think she's good.
Are you willing to
No.
move to A?
I don't think she's like once you have enough mutas, sure, but like I don't think she can get to that point. Like if you're just Kerrigan and you're fighting air units, the ground units will die first, so the scouts will have Avenger, and it's gonna take you so long to kill one scout.
Well,
Like-
don't you like want to shot them with Kinetic Blast?
If you're not Please 3, you can't do that.
I don't know. Even like P2, I think it should be fine against like scouts, even if they're Avenger.
You should try it first.
I will after this.
I don't think she's that good. P2 is like it's.
Scouts and
I
Copper
found
jacked.
P2 to like because you get less carapace. She dies even faster because everything's hitting her. Everything's hitting her at once.
Everything wants to hit on Kerrigan. Well, it's kind of her fault for killing like 1 billion people on Marsara and like Tarsonis and stuff. It's kind of her fault, but that's not relevant. Yeah, everything likes to hit her, so she probably does need that armor or that carapace.
Yeah, so I put like the people in A. There's no like worry about dying because if Kerrigan dies as a result of being overwhelmed in the early game, just like you're just gone, right? But with those guys in A, they aren't gonna die in the early game. There's just no way. They're much stronger.
Okay, so what do you think, Zero?
I mean, I don't know. I don't see the hero dying before 9 minutes, especially when you start adding units around that time. Like
You
I
have
think
no
with,
units
like
at that time.
I think the issue isn't before 9 minutes. The issue is between 9 minutes and 10 minutes, when like you have
yeah, you
multiple
start
waves
adding
spawning.
units at, like 8 minutes. Even if it's like 2 ultralisks, you're fine. Yeah, 2 ultralisks, they'll kill all the ground units, and then you just kill the air with your hero.
2 Ultralists are not gonna kill the ground units if they're like zealots or something and they're Avengered. No.
Yeah, Avengers
way.
really strong. I'm not sure that Kerrigan on their own is enough to destroy like triple waves of scouts or triple waves of mutalisks. Maybe with the
I tried
Swarmers.
I tried P2. It dies so fast. I tried P3, died even faster against like a weak comp too. It's just like I can't kill them all because like Shadow Disruption, they're not strong, but when they're all hitting Kerrigan at once, every time I kill one, everyone around it is stronger. And I can't kill them fast enough. I had to use P0 to slide through them, but they're still hitting me because they don't die in one shot.
So there's not enough firepower, is what you're saying. Kerrigan
Yes.
on her own does not have enough firepower against Avenger. So she does need an army, but as you said, her army kind of sucks.
So if you like somehow survive the early game, you'll start getting ultras, but getting to that point is kind of hard.
What do you think, Zero?
I don't know. I still think she's good, but I guess I could compromise for B. I don't see the early game being that difficult, especially if you have like slight help
yeah.
of an ally.
Remember, don't forget the first wave has speed freaks. She's not out yet. She doesn't have anything but spines.
It's a struggle.
First wave is definitely an issue.
Yeah, that actually sounds.
That hampers your economy even more.
Yeah, I guess with the first wave included, I could see her being B.
Okay, so both of you are okay with B. Let's put Kerrigan in B. Prestige-wise, what do you want here? No prestige?
I think 0 is bad. P0, because the slide is stronger and more carapace.
Let's say 2 or 3, but I guess P0 could also work.
Alright, so
Like
just pick
anything
whichever one you want, except the first one. You need Omega Worms. They're basically what makes Kerrigan playable. Basically. Nova, where do we have him?
Nova, so she has a good army at least. She has mobility, although not very often, with the airlift. Her early game isn't an issue at all. At least shouldn't be, because of the hero shotgun thing. Yeah, so for the late game, she doesn't have to split her army, thankfully. She can have like her army on one side and have the hero unit. And the hero unit's just there to tank for your airstrike, so that will handle any double waves. Or if it's like a triple wave with aggressive deployment, you may have to like slightly scramble if your ally's out of position. But yeah, I still think she's quite good. I have her in A tier.
A tier. How about you, Twotuuu?
I think same thing. Liberator, Raven, really good. You dump. Oh yeah, the aggressive deployment waves. If you're out of position, they go after buildings. So if you dump like Raven turrets away from your base, they might go after the turrets instead of your base.
That's
If
rough.
you need to, you can airstrike your allies' wave, and you can take care of your own because Liberators don't care about Avenger. And if anything, you can just drop a defensive drone like on your ally stuff, and he can probably fight it off. So, and you can defensive drone your own stuff to fight off your wave. I put her in S.
S. Oh my goodness. Are Liberators good enough to fight Speed Freak Scourge?
I think so.
You sure about that?
Speed Freak Scourge.
If it's like a later game, yeah. If it's like early game, they may suffer. Just depends if you have the mass.
So when the fight, when you know the enemy is either Devouring Scourge or Bailing Scourge, do you have your Liberators set up by default, or do you have them in mobile mode? Do you
Mobile
siege them
mode.
up? You have them in mobile mode. If you know you're fighting against a Bailing
Because
Scourge,
their ground is not strong.
yeah, you don't siege them up. For the ground forces, you use Nova herself, I assume.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
And Raven turrets.
I was just confirming because like if you're sieging up Liberators, they're not gonna have a good time against Scourge. No, actually, I'm thinking if you're fighting against Devouring Scourge, that might be weak enough to warrant like Ghosts, which is also a good option, I think. Yeah, against Devouring Scourge in particular, because of the Scourge. Anyway, so what do you think, Zero? How about S?
Another issue with Nova is if she gets like Sky Terran, the aggressive deployment waves can go to pretty high tech, I believe. So she'll fight Avenger battle cruisers, which isn't amazing. Yeah, normally the reason Nova is so good on this map is because all but like the last wave, which you don't even have to fight, is really low tech. So she'll be fighting only like Vikings. This isn't the case with aggressive deployment. So yeah, we put Karax in A tier because he struggles with Avenger Immortals. Nova is pretty much the same thing, but with BCs.
What do you think, Tutu?
I agree with that. If you're fighting battle cruisers, you just throw in. You have to throw in Goliaths,
That makes
and
sense.
then
So we is that an okay for A tier? I mean, it's not.
I think it's fine. Like,
Yeah, it's
I
not
think it's
unanimous
fine.
either way. So Nova drops down to A tier. I mean, it's kind of average. You said B. Zero said S. So that's. Oh wait, that's yeah. We have the opposite. You said S. Zero said B. So there it's average to A. There we go. Let's move on. Raynor, where do we have him?
Raynor. So okay. If you're fighting a ground comp, you can mass spider mines, and they can kill a lot of things. However, if you're not fighting ground, then you will need Vikings because Vikings or BCs because Marines just aren't very good. And yeah, or you have to mass missile turrets, and
Letter.
that means like you need to be good on your with macro, so mulings. Otherwise, you won't have enough money. And yeah, I think if Han Horners and Sea Raynor should be there too.
All right. What do you think, Zero?
I agree with C tier. He's pretty similar to Adam Hoarder in many ways. Yeah, his early game is a lot worse than them, while the late game is slightly better. So they're kind of like opposites of each other. Yeah, they both have similar weaknesses. So I have him in C tier also.
All right. That should be fine. Raynor in C tier. Well, let's move on. Stetboy, where do we have him?
Stetmann. So pretty much I say this every tier list. He has Zerglings, and he has a funny beam that kills waves. The zone makes him run, what is it, like 160% faster, which is insane. So he won't have trouble getting from bot to bot and
Insane
wave to
like
wave.
Stetboy himself.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't even have to split units just because your units move so fast. Yeah, you have no trouble fighting through the Avenger waves with the healing. Yeah, I have him in S tier.
It's almost like he was made for this map. Kind of. What do you think, Tutu?
don't forget that the Statolites also slow down the enemies because they're gonna
You're gonna fight it.
have
They're
to
gonna
shoot
fight,
each single one.
and they stop every
Yeah,
time they shoot.
yeah. I put him in S.
All right. As for Stat Boy, there we go. Stat Boy S in his own map again. What a hack. Let's move on. Stukov, where do we have him?
Stukov P3 is not good because Avenger. So you're left with P1. P1 is okay. For the first wave, you need to make you'll probably need to make infested marines from a barracks because you won't have a diamondback in time. And one diamondback is not gonna stop fast angry dudes when you don't have the green slime. So yeah. And I think it's might be comp dependent. I'm not sure because Diamondbacks, like even with slime, when the enemies have speed freaks, they're not they don't get slowed that much. They can still hit you.
They catch up.
Yeah. And then like your volatile infested, you throw it at them, but if you're trying to kite them, then the volatile infested can't connect because they will
Catch up.
run past them.
That's
So
funny.
tanks aren't as good as they usually are. So yeah, I put Stukov in B. He's still okay.
How about you, Zero?
I also have him in B tier. For the first wave, I say it's probably safer to just get a bunker. Yeah, because if you go for a Marines and the enemies like Reapers, that probably won't go too well. As for I guess like the early game past the first wave, you'd probably just go Diamondbacks. But even that won't be too pretty, especially if it's like a more difficult comp. Yeah, he isn't too amazing anywhere. Even if he gets to the late game, I'd say late game you probably go like you slowly transition into like tank liberator. But yeah, I don't think your tanks, like especially like past the mid game, will be missing too much just because they'll shoot the guy they see, but then by the time the infested fly there'll just be another guy in the way. But he still isn't amazing, so I think B is fine for him.
Okay. Both of you guys said B. Let's put Stukov in B. You want the first prestige, right?
Yes.
All right. Let's move on. Swann, where do we have him?
Swann. So I'll just say this right away. Avenger the Immortals. He will not have a fun time with them if he gets them. Outside of that, he kind of just plays like a worse Karax. His turrets are, I guess, slightly better in a way, but his top bar isn't as versatile. You don't really want to be using top bar on like the smaller aggressive deployment waves. He can do the Karax thing. Well, I guess it's not really a Karax thing, but just flying one of his air combat units over unpathable terrain to get rid of a aggressive deployment wave, which is, I guess it's a plus. Even then, he's still not that great. I have him in B tier.
B tier. How do you feel about the first prestige with the mass factory strategy? Wouldn't the laser drill slow down the enemies?
It's slightly awkward with Avenger, just because the Avenger healing will slow down the drill by a decent chunk, but I guess it could work.
Okay. How about you, Twotuuu?
I think P2 would be better. So that way you can use your top bars to clear areas, and then because like factory clearing is really slow. So factory plus Eris clearing is not that good. It's not very fast. Whereas top bar you can like probably kill a wave plus like some things behind it. I put him in A because I think he's just weaker Karax, but I don't think he's like that much weaker.
Interesting. How do you deal with immortals?
Huh. It's like Karax, except can't. he
And-
doesn't deal with them.
So why is
That's
he
why
A?
that's why he's worse.
So why is he A?
Because he's still fine against everything else.
What do you think, Zero? Are you okay with A?
I'm fine with that. It's just when you get Immortals, you just go next game.
Okay. I would have put a better fight against Immortals. I think if Immortals are that bad against him, I would have
Like,
staged a bit of a tighter resistance to try and push him down to B. But you're okay with A, so let's put him in A. Prestige wise, you want the second one?
yeah, but he's
P2.
much better against Zerglings than Karax.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
Zerglings and Zealots.
Betty is very good against Zerglings. Betty has like lemon juice. Okay, let's move on. Tychus. Oh wait, prestige wise, you want the second one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tychus, where do we have him?
He just puts one outlaw at each place, split outlaws, and then they, like Nux or Tychus will one-shot most of the wave, and then that's it. If you're afraid like the aggressive deployment wave will drop where one of your weak outlaws is at, then you can play like P0 or something, and then just stick together and still fight them. You'll still be strong enough to fight them off, and then teleport to your ally if you need to. So I put him in S.
Okay. How about you, Zero?
I agree with S tier. He has insane mobility with the Diamondback. Not Diamondbacks, the Medivacs. Not that he even needs it with P2, because he's just all around the map with his outlaws. Avenger, he most likely won't even notice it just because Tychus one-shots a wave with his grenade. So there's no real time for the Avenger to activate. As for the other outlaws, even though the Avenger may activate, they're still plenty strong enough that you won't really care. Yeah, he can easily help his ally by just having like an outlaw near his army. Yeah, I think a S tier is fine for him.
Alright, prestige wise, you want the second one, right? Or no prestige, if that's what you prefer.
Like any prestige.
Any
is still
prestige? Okay.
I'd
Even
say
the third
P2
prestige. If you like the
but
Odin.
everything works.
Yeah. Alright, let's put Tychus in S. Let's move on. Vorazun, where do we have him?
Vorazun, she's not amazing here. In fact, quite the opposite. If she gets air, Corsairs will struggle a lot more than normal, just because extra armor, and they're very low damage, fast attack speed units. You can't black hole every wave, so that's out of the equation also. But even if it's like ground, she's still not a completely amazing like she normally would be, because DTs don't. Even though they have good damage, they're melee units, so a lot of that time will be spent chasing the enemies around instead of actually killing them. Yeah, she can't really split because her army isn't amazing, so you can't want them in one place either. You have the Dark Pylon teleport at least, but it's not something you can just use on the fly. Yeah, I have her in C tier personally.
C tier. How about you, Twotuuu?
So against ground, she's okay. The problem with her DT army is that if the enemies cannot see the DTs, they will hit the bots. And when they're faster and angry, they will kill the bots really fast. So yeah, if you're fighting ground, you better have enough DTs so that they just die. If you're fighting air, you're in a lot of trouble. So as Zero said, you can't black hole every wave. You can black hole like it's every like minute and a half based on energy, so it's about a minute and a half, but not every wave. So that's yeah.
But then you won't have Shadow
I
Guard.
guess with against air, you probably need help from cannons. You just need to like put a bunch of cannons and use. Hopefully, those can help you out. But other than that, yeah, I put her in B.
B. What do you think, Zero? How about B?
I think she's just worse than some of the B commanders, but I'm not totally opposed to it. You have to be very careful of like Corsairs, because if they just happen to snipe that like one observer, then all the units will just aggro to the bots. And if it's Terran, where she'd normally thrive, that's even worse, just because they don't send detection. The units will just go straight for the bots.
They don't need to go straight. They have range units. They'll just shoot past your Dark Templar.
The AD waves will send ravens. So like right in the beginning, or like or science vessels. I think.
Very sad
I think it's rape.
times. I think it depends on what the
And-
enemy comp is. But anyway.
But-
So, are you
oh.
okay with B?
I guess, but I don't know. I'm still leaning towards C.
Okay, Twotuuu, are you okay with C?
I don't think she's that bad because time stop is really good.
Time
And,
stop the commander. That's like Kerrigan's
there's another
immobilization
thing
of the
which is,
commander.
like we both mentioned, the enemies will just aggro the bots, but you can prevent that by making cannons or centurions. So centurions are not cloaked, so you give them something to hit,
The meat shield.
and you have a lot of minerals anyways.
That sounds inhumane, but I guess it could work.
Oh, I do that all the time. This is
I
like-
can. Oh my! I can imagine Vorazun just like hiring centurions just for them to be meat shields.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
I guess
inhumane.
B is fine.
Alright. Let's put Vorazun in B. She has 1 prestige, the third one. Zagara, where do we have him?
Zagara, she's with P3, she has deep tunnel, so she can kind of help, but like just help. She can't really clear the wave, especially not later on, but she can help. Her her banelings provide a lot of burst damage, so that's good. Scourge also provide high burst damage, so that's also good. A small problem she has is that when she reinforces units, they run from the base. So there's a chance that aggressive deployment drops where like one of the reinforcements are.
Near your base.
It's near your base, or like your army's not there. And if they have like storm and stuff, like AoE, you're just gonna be in trouble. So yeah. Otherwise, I think Zagara aberrations are also good against Avenger. I put her in A.
Hey, okay. How about you? How about you, Zero?
I have her like a B to A. So yeah, she isn't. Avenger isn't actually that big of a threat for her, just because her links shred armor and Banelings just don't care. She has good mobility with the hero unit, and even if you go for like P1, which I mean, I guess it could work, her units move relatively pretty fast, so you can just run around. Of course, the thing that Twotuuu said about aggressive deployment being able to drop in your units when they're rallying can be a threat, but it's a lot rarer than you may think. Yeah, I think A is fine for her. She doesn't really struggle to any comp specifically. Maybe like the Starcraft 1, Skytoss, Corsairs.
Corsairs, yeah, she hates Corsairs. Her Scourge hate Corsairs. Absolutely. So both of you said A, let's put her in A. Prestige wise, what, the third one?
Yeah.
That or P1. I think both can
First
work.
one is, yeah, I played with Cage. He used the first Prestige. It went fine, actually. It wasn't like heavily carrying me or anything. It was like equal contribution. I think with equal contribution, Zagara's very fine. But if you're, my concern with Zagara is when you have to do like 90% of the work, she kind of runs out of steam if she has to do all the work, and especially if she used the first prestige. But if you're playing with someone who you have equal contribution with, first prestige I think is perfectly fine. Anyway, let's move on. Zeratul, where do we have him?
Tool. So his army, assuming you're gonna go stalkers mainly, has a lot of blinks, so you can teleport across like like a quarter of the map roughly to either help your ally or just get into position. In your base, you have monoliths in case you need that. If like your ally lets some of the units through, that will help out. You can go either cannons to just deploy them on the aggressive deployment waves. Yeah, you have a lot of options here, and they're all good. His top bar can pretty much handle like a side on its own, where that's like Abathur and Legion. So even if you're out of position, you're completely fine. His units don't struggle at all with dealing with the buffed enemies and more of them. Yeah, you have really good mobility with the array if you want to use that. Not that it's necessary. I think he's S tier.
Yes. What do you think, Tutu?
The Legion also is like Phoenix's suit. It's available every 2 minutes. So if your ally's not doing well, you can summon the Legion every 2 minutes with your allies group, and then you can help them out like that, while your super strong army will deal with your own wave. I put Zeratul on S.
Yeah. I'd like to add two things. If you choose the Zeratul Legion, they'll be able to mind control the Avenger units, and even though you won't get the Avenger yourself, you will at least remove Avenger from their side. And the same thing can be said for the demote dude. If they demote a unit, it will lose its Avenger stacks. So those are two very nice things to have for Zeratul that will help you and your ally, even if you're both like starting to lose a fight. So with that, do we have a double S this week?
No.
No.
Who's top of S?
Either Tychus or Stetmann. I could see arguments for both of them.
Tychus or Stetboy? I'm leaning toward Tychus, but is Zeratul not in that conversation? Like with the demote dude and the mind control stuff?
No, Avenger isn't that big of a threat, just because most of the waves don't actually send high tier stuff. So being able to control like a Avenger Viking won't help you very much.
I mean, not just the Viking, dude. It's more like the stuff like Immortals, like Siege Tanks, Liberators. But again, if you don't think so, then that's fine. So who do we put on top of S? Tychus or Stetboy?
Tychus, because he's out at 3 minutes.
That's
yeah,
true.
that's fair.
Tychus
Easier
out
time
earlier.
with the first wave.
And it's just simpler control. You don't need to really macro that well. You still need to macro a little bit, but not that much with Tychus. Or Stetboy needs to spread stud lights, get units, get upgrades. So, Stetboy second in S?
Yeah.
Alright. Who's next?
Is Zeratul?
Zeratul.
Yeah.
Then
Abathur.
Abathur. Yeah.
Abathur and Dehaka. Okay. Who's top of A? Karax?
Karax, I guess.
Phoenix? Karax?
Karax.
Yeah, let's say Karax.
Because we were having a discussion about whether Phoenix was an S earlier. Who else were we having a discussion about S? Nova?
I think it was Karax, if not for the Immortals
Oh,
with
yeah.
Avenger.
Okay. Who's second in A?
Phoenix.
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 Arcturus.
Yeah.
Arcturus.
Nova.
Zagara, maybe?
Nova or Zagara?
Both are good. I think I'm leaning towards
Nova's
Nova.
better.
Yeah, Nova.
Yeah, Nova can evacuate her
drone.
ally and her own army if things are starting to turn south. And she has defensive drone, which will help just stay alive. And then Zagara?
I think so.
Zagara.
Who's next?
Alarak.
Alarak, then Swann.
Yeah, I think Alarak's one.
Okay. Who's top of B?
Kerrigan.
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 Then Stukov?
Artanis?
Artanis?
I don't know. They play very similar.
I guess with Garden Shell, yeah, maybe.
Artanis can warp his units onto the field, where Stukov units have to run across.
Yes.
I guess
Yeah.
it's
Well, with
light
Siege Tax, you
advantage
can
for
do
Artu.
tunnel. I'm okay either way. I mean, it's not my call, but personally, I'm
Yeah,
okay
I
either
think
way.
they're both around similar.
Alright, let's call it a
level.
tie. Let's call it a tie. Artanis then Stukov.
Alright.
Vorazun's set the bottom. Who's top of C tier?
Han Horner.
Han and
Han and
Horner.
Okay, poor Raynor. Anyway, guys, that is this week's tier list. Watch Twotuu's channel, and we'll link it down below. And I'll see you guys next time.